I'm in the creepy minds of Mandalore. What's gonna happen? Bespin Bulletin texted me. What'd he say? Uh-oh, what's going on the internet? Exclusive, Lucasfilm has been hit with a breach of contract lawsuit over the upcoming series Star Wars The Acolyte. Karen McCarthy is taking Lucasfilm to court over being pink slipped after just a few weeks' work last year. Uh-oh. So we'll open that and look at that. But right now we're going to review this thing called The Mandalorian Part 3, Part 2. Before we begin, there's this really cool event at Star Wars Celebration if you're going, and I suggest that you do go to this event. If you don't go to this event, you're going to feel stupid because you're going to go to Celebration, then you're going to get bored after it's over, and you're going to be like, well, what can I do? And you're going to go eat fish and chips. That's what you're going to do. You're going to eat fish and chips by yourself like a stupid loser, like you're Jason Ward on a Thursday night. And boy, it's sad. It's pathetic. So if you go to this show, there's going to be a bunch of Star Wars celebrities. Ash, the band, is going to play, who's a really good band. If you're not familiar with Ash, you should listen to Ash. They're a good band. Listen to Girl from Mars. Listen to the Jackie Chan song. Listen to the Clone song. They did the official song from what was that game? You know, the ones with the Republic Commando game. They did like the official Clone song for that. It's cool. But yeah, and they got Robert Strange, who's Hondo Ohnaka in Galaxy's Edge. So this is like the live action actor who plays Hondo. I would imagine this actor will play Hondo again when he shows up somewhere else. So pretty cool place to get an interaction, a signing as well. So it's going to be a cool show. So check it out. Don't mess it up. Also, like the show. Be like Star Wars Santa, become a channel member, support the channel. And if you do, I will appreciate that. And when the great culling happens, I will make sure that the overlords spare you. Also, I could promise everybody who watches this show and likes the video, when you die, you will become a Force ghost. But if you should die having not liked the last video from me that you watched, when you die, you will not become a Force ghost. That guarantee is taken off the table. So yeah, and you could listen to the show on what is it, Spotify and Apple Music and all that jazz too. Okay, so don't be a dummy, and be like Star Wars Santa. And also check out Star Wars Santa's show. It's one of my favorite Star Wars shows on the internet. So it's going to be cool. Rob might be with us today. We talked about doing the show early today, and then I haven't heard from him today, so I'm not really sure what's going on. Really quickly, should we hit this article really quickly before we get into the review? Just because, like, why not? That way, if Rob does come, then we don't really miss anything. But let's look and see what's going on with this old Acolyte. Which, by the way, surprisingly, hearing really good things about the Acolyte recently. Not bad things, but legal troubles are legal troubles. And so here, let me throw this article up. Let me share my screen. All right, this is from Deadline Hollywood on like Deadline Bollywood. Let me see. There it goes. You can do it. Come on, baby, you can do it. I know you can do it. There it goes. My computer is older than the Millennium Falcon. This is by Dominic Patton. Lucasfilm sued for egregious axing of producer Karen McCarthy from Star Wars series The Acolyte. Look at her right there. They're like, look at her. Stop grinning at us like that. We're going to fire you. Look at David Blaine. David Blaine's like, I can make her disappear forever. Okay. Exclusive. There is a disturbance in the Force. Come on. Really? Okay. On the same day, it became public that Kevin Feige and Patty Jenkins helmed Star Wars projects were dormant. Lucasfilm has been hit with a breach of contract lawsuit over the upcoming The Acolyte. And let's give a little bit of love to Jeff Snyder, even though he takes super chat money from Chris and doesn't answer him. But it makes me laugh. I think it's funny. But like $100, they're like, Then they said, $2 super chat, get a $2 answer. That'll teach you, Chris. But no, I mean, this is pretty much most of the stuff isn't anything new that Jeff Snyder hasn't been saying from that article. The only thing is that Taika Waititi would be acting in his movie and it wasn't dead, which is a big thing. There is a big component to it. That's in direct opposition to what Snyder's been saying, but whatever, don't care. It's all interesting. Okay, Baller's executive producer Karen McCarthy has taken the Kathleen Kennedy run Disney division to court over being pink slipped from the Leslie Headland created series after just a few weeks of work last year. So she was only there for a little while. They were like, "Get the fuck out of the shit! Get out of here! You're not." I need to turn off this stupid flickering light thing that I got going on. Like, it was funny for a second, but now I regret it. There we go. What makes this action all the more bitter and telling of streamer competition for top talent is the UTA rep McCarthy was being actively courted by Apple at the same time. Come on, I don't want this stupid read more. Get the fuck out of here. What are you guys doing, Deadline? What do you think I'm reading on, like a fucking movie theater screen? Come on. All right. Baller. So, anyways, so she got the axe. She was being courted by Apple at the same time to help run their now Colin Farrell starring PI series, Sugar. According to the March 7th filing by Glasser, Whale, Fink, Howard, Edgman, and Shapiro LLP. Come on, shorten it up, fucking lawyers. Read it here. I just read a whole fucking book trying to say your title. I'd fire you too. Deciding to throw her lot in with the potential long-term commitment to Lucasfilm and the Acolyte in early April 22, McCarthy found herself in an employment Death Star and no cash to show for it at the sudden end, it seems. Or put it in bottom line terms, as a result of its bad faith and wrongful termination, defendants deprived Ms. McCarthy's significant employment, which she would have earned millions of dollars over the life of the series. Over the life of the series? I mean, life? Whatever. Live of the series? What the fuck? Who knows? All we know is she's eating at 7-Eleven now. She's getting a big bite and a drink for $3 because that's all she can afford now. She's living hand to mouth. After setting up the corporate pursuit of the seasoned McCarthy by Apple and Lucasfilm and how the EP was the choice for the Acolyte, the jury is seeking complaint details how she got to work quickly on April 7th, 2022, and how a broad strokes agreement full of UK hotel allowances and per diems was sent over to her agent, David Morris, on April 11th. In fact, in that email to Morris from Lucasfilm, VP Physical Productions Candace Campos, the exec, makes a point of saying how we really want to make this work. Then it all seems to go wrong fast. What? There's no period or anything. 2 weeks later, without explanation, without reason, without justification, Lucasfilm told McCarthy it wanted out of the deal. The 12-page filing in LA Superior Court says. Okay, so we're in the LA Superior Court. This is serious. By this time, the Apple offer was gone. Apple had to move on and found another executive producer for Sugar. McCarthy now had neither deal. Damn, that's shit. At the same time, I mean, why would she let go, though? As disappointing as the new situation was, it seemed like McCarthy took it in the spirit of this being show business. She's like, that's show business, folks, and not show friends. And made for the exit, expecting to be compensated. That's where things appear to get messy, even by Tinseltown standards. Uh-oh. When McCarthy went to Lucasfilm and requested to be paid straight cash, Lucasfilm denied that they even had an agreement, even though they had made their offer containing all the material deal points. 20 McCarthy accepted that offer. Lucasfilm had McCarthy start right away, and Lucasfilm sent to McCarthy a memorandum of agreement, memorializing the terms, including that McCarthy had already commenced working. In further disregard of McCarthy and the work she'd already done, Lucasfilm offered to pay McCarthy 5,000 big ones for a single day's work. Jesus. McCarthy rejected Lucasfilm. No wonder why Disney Plus doesn't have any fucking money. McCarthy rejected Lucasfilm's anemic and insulting offer. And even though Lucasfilm acknowledged that McCarthy had, in fact, performed work for it, Lucasfilm never paid McCarthy for that work. McCarthy is therefore forced to bring this action to hold Lucasfilm accountable for its egregious breach of their agreement. It's bad faith denial of that agreement, and for the statutory penalties McCarthy is entitled for its failure to pay her for her work. With that earlier statement of the EP losing out on millions of dollars hanging in the air, McCarthy attorneys Patty Glasser, Robert Allen, and Matthew W. Bernstein asked for a wide range of unspecified damages for their client. Reps for Lucasfilm did not respond for requests from deadline of the lawsuit. If and when they do, we will update. Yeah, they won't say shit. They won't even talk about movies they canceled. As for the Acolyte itself, there is no Disney Plus debut date for the 8-episode Amanda Stenberg-led series. Yeah, it's not this year. However, we do know that filming has been going on since October 22 on the other side of the pond. Well, it depends on what side of the pond you're on, right? Seemingly with the tone of the Tony Gilroy created Andor mystery thriller, The Acolyte is set at the murky end of the High Republic, which is the era before the Star Wars flicks kick off. And aside, that's kind of a nice way of putting it, actually. For as much stupid like Star Wars is back kind of fluffy dialogue, that's a good way of putting that. All that aside, with Glasser on one side and Disney lawyers on the other, this legal standoff over McCarthy's money and deal may be where the real lightsabers come out. So okay, so nothing too crazy there, but it's definitely an interesting development there. So yeah, and once again, if you're going to Celebration, hit this up. This is like a big deal. And hey, Roberto, you're here.
Sorry, I was bathing in the waters under Toys R Us. So,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I gotta cleanse myself.
I just read an article knowing that if I read the article, it would summon you because you love legal trouble.
I do love legal trouble. Like, how did you know?
Yep.
What's up? Who's getting sued?
A producer from the Acolyte was like basically offered another job, didn't take it. Some shit got messy, and then she didn't get the producing job, and she didn't get paid. So she's like, pay me. So it's not that interesting, but it's still like, we'll see what happens. Maybe there's more to it. But so really quickly, it's funny. I uploaded like a whole slideshow for us today, and this thing reads it backwards. So I'm having to do the slides backwards today, but it's working. Okay, so that'll be our first shot. But really quickly,
this is not the first shot.
well, no, I mean it's not a shot for shot. It's like 36 slides.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But yeah, really quickly, like in this episode, there was like a couple of important things, and obviously the way it ends, which we'll get to. But I wanted to hit this before I forget because I pulled some quotes. And in season 1 of The Mandalorian, we have Quail talking to Mando when he's trying to ride the Blurg, Star Wars Santa's favorite monster. And he says, "Your ancestors rode the great mythosaur." That's kind of, I think that's when we look at where we're at with the series, that's an important quote now. And he's like, "Surely you can ride this young foal," so it's like he's saying like, you guys used to ride the mythosaur.
Worst part of that episode.
No, you're high.
Worst part of that, cringe part of that episode, man. Good character, but that writing was oof.
Yeah, he has spoken, all right.
No, they don't do that he has spoken joke line anymore, right?
He's dead. He can't do it anymore.
Well, he's spoken. He were spoken.
Remember when that little pig used to speak? So then there's in Book of Boba Fett, the armorer is talking about the sigil of the mythosaur and said, "The songs of eons past foretold of the mythosaur rising up to herald a new age of Mandalore." So I think that those quotes are kind of important, kind of funny that Boba Fett really is not pertinent to that apparently, but is literally just a conversation piece to get that piece of information to us at the end of the day.
Yeah, but classic Favreau.
Classic Favreau. But these things, they weren't put in there for no reason. They they could have just been some fluffy, and a new age of blah 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 blah, foretold, bullshit. But it does appear that there's some intent here. So this first shot that we're gonna look at is it looks like they're not doing pod racing on this Boonta Eve. They're just racing a couple of lame speeders down the street.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. It's not really the point, so it doesn't matter. But man, Tatooine needs to be a lot cooler. Just gonna throw that out there.
Here's the thing too. Great, look, the visual effects on this episode are top notch, right? Like they did a great job.
For Disney Plus, if you expect
Disney
more,
Plus,
you will always be sad.
It looks better in it looks better than anything on TV and most movies. So let's just be honest, right? But there is a fundamental problem I have with this episode. It kind of starts here where I'm a fan of the kind of storytelling where you're along with someone, like you are sort of like a surrogate, like you're in the moment, right? Like
more like first person kind of in a
right. It's sort of where you're going along in the adventure, right? I feel like A New Hope does the best of it out of the first three, where you're kind of Luke, right, in a way, right? Like it doesn't start that way, but you eventually get to there where you're kind of like him.
Yeah, you're kind of picking up people.
You use the Force the way they do the Alec Guinness line at the end of that New Hope. Like you're hearing the Force the way Luke's. There's a transference there. Mm-hmm. Here, it is very expositional. Outside, we're looking at things, right? And I sort of like this is one of those things where, like, had this been like a little, like the race, like if he had been the Rhodian, and he had wiped out over here, and then he ends up at Paley Moto's, you know what I mean? Like where you're in the cockpit a little bit, kind of crashes into something, and he's like, it's going to cost me. There goes my money, and then he's over here and he's still getting ripped off. You can kind of play off it a little bit,
Yeah.
But this has no connection. I was like, all right, you're putting it together because they explain the joke 3 times to you, right? Like, this is what I love about the Favreau Paley Moto jokes. They have to be told in 3s. So if you didn't get it the first 2 times, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, it's
third. Yeah,
we were talking about how there was some indications that this season was inspired by The Kid, the Charlie Chaplin one film, and in that film, there's a moment where the kid goes around throwing baseballs or rocks or something through windows, shattering windows, and then Charlie Chaplin shows up and it's like, "Oh, I'm a window fixer. How convenient!" And then he fixes windows. And this whole moment was almost just to like do their version of that, but not with Mando and Grogu, which is kind of strange.
His writing seems to be a punchline in search of a setup, right? Like he sort of starts with the gag and then works it backwards, and everything like lines up to that gag. But I feel like it's telegraphed so much that the gag 5 minutes ahead, and you're just watching all the other characters catch up.
Yeah,
I think the average person watching this won't get that, but the slippery slope with this sort of writing is eventually, if you end up in a pattern, you can parody yourself, and if you parody this, you end up in Vespa territory. You see what I'm saying? Like where things are so on the nose and you're like, okay, I guess it's written for like a 5-year-old who's not paying attention.
Yeah.
So like this whole joke, man, like there's stuff here. The droid gag humor here is great, but man, she just keeps saying this. Like, we heard this, we get it, like, I don't know. Yeah. Like it's,
I think generally speaking, the fan base likes her. So this whole stuff right here is working with the general audience who's in the show now for 3 seasons and 4 seasons of the Book of Boba Fett. And so, but I know what you mean. Like, I think that like what you're hitting on though is a sort of change in the show from more micro based, here's a little father and son, to now I think we're starting to pull out into the galaxy, wider pull back to the wider like characters and the people that play, and that's where the show might start to lose people over time.
But this is where I'm like, he's been doing this Mandalorian thing for a while. He doesn't know anybody else who can get a part, but this person, like,
yeah,
I just don't know. Like, I don't buy it. It's just another, I don't know, like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he likes her. I mean, he trusts her. He lets her watch his kid. If he was, maybe he's like, she fucks Jawas. So if anybody can get me,
she looks like Gabriel O'Neill. right?
I like that she's still missing her tooth from Book of Boba Fett. That's great. That's a great little detail. She didn't get it fixed. She's just still missing it. And but so it's like, so I'll go with it for the fun. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I mean, could they have made new characters? But I don't know. I like Pelly, so I don't mind it. And a lot of this stuff,
I want
a
to
lot
give
from the
special
trailers.
props. The
Mhm.
one joke during that scene I thought that was really great was just when R5 starts to shake and then backs up. Like I thought that
Mhm.
was like, that's just the, you don't need the you know what I mean, the you're scared of, like, I get all that, but it worked just fine right there. I thought that was really great. Yeah,
Yeah.
this entering the planet shot stuff is really great. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think this show is benefiting from that year of that year of post production.
It really makes
You
Kenobi
know,
look pretty tough, huh? Like,
yeah, but
like
also
yeah.
but remember the parameters of this. Kenobi was meant to shoot and come out. This got to fucking sit around itching its balls for like a year, you know,
Oh, I know.
it's a good thing. It's definitely like for the best, and that's what's sort of good about having like Acolyte almost in the can and Skeleton Crew in the can and Ahsoka in the can. Like I don't think we shouldn't have any more of that sci-fi, really good visual effects for sci-fi channel kind of bullshit anymore. I don't think we will, but fucking
Every
fingers
production
crossed.
needs of this size and this scope needs a year in post, you know,
Yeah.
like just for the compositing. Forget layering in visual effects, just compositing. I mean, if you follow Hugo's Desk, the YouTube channel, Hugo is a professional compositor, so they go through visual effects in different films, and they're the ones that were telling about the Weta breakdown of the Batman, right?
Yeah.
That really, it's stuff that you've never seen before. I wish they put it out.
Okay.
But he really brings out, you know, the importance of compositing and how it plays into even the smallest of visual effects on films that, you know, when you go, oh, that looks fake, and you're like, no, that's real, but that's fake, and you can't
Mhm.
tell composite. And here, it's extremely seamless. Put it
Yeah.
that way. Like I think it's some of the best compositing this season I've seen in any Star Wars show, really.
The compositing is good, and while Obi-Wan Kenobi made a lot of people and Book of Boba Fett together, and once again made really fast and during the pandemic, but made people really not trust the volume. Give the volume a bad name, I would say, for a long time. But here we could see in this episode and the last episode that the volume is fucking great if you don't rush it. If you give it the TLC it deserves, it works. It's fine.
Yeah, like you don't have to do an entire Star Wars movie with blue screens. You can actually
Mhm.
shoot outside too, right?
And
Right?
then you can 100%. And
I'm asking Meg.
and
If I ask Meg a question about Attack of the Clones, she has to appear. It's
um this, but like also as a Star Wars fan, let's not really like I a lot of us we're a bit spoiled in 2023, but look at if I went back in a time machine and I told you, hey guys, in 2023, you know, 10-15 years ago, there's going to be an episode where a silver Mandalorian is flying a fucked up N1 Naboo starfighter with R5D4 and a baby Yoda in the back, and then they go into a cave and there's two Mandalorians at a camp and they're having a conversation. You would be fucking intrigued. You'd be like, what the fuck? Make that today. And here we are, and we're having it. So I am appreciating where we're at right now, and the fact
also
that
I
like
appreciate
it's good.
that I somehow missed that there's a, I don't know how I missed it last episode, but there's a Mando helmet shape designed to Bo-Katan's castle. Like I just missed it the first.
When you yeah, let me there's a whole thing about Mandalore in the Clone Wars. Okay,
They're like Batman. They got to work their symbol into everything, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
and
very cool.
it's one of like Filoni's like earlier, you know, kind of one of the things he did like earlier on in it. Like here, let me see if I could. I'll share this thing with you right now because Mandalore itself, and here's one thing I wanted to. Another reason to bring this up is I wanted to show this because I feel like if you are watching this episode having not seen the Clone Wars, some things I don't think read that well in a dark ass cave. That read a lot better when you know what Mandalore was supposed to look like. I could have maybe used a flashback. That's something I would maybe to like be like a little bit critical of, is I could have maybe used like a flashback showing to what it once was, just so that way we know what it is now, you know. But if, as you can see right here, like right here is Bo-Katan, and she's with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. And look at the window right here. You can see Boba Fett's like the Mandalorian chess piece thing right here, like in the window. And there's like a lot of like the architecture all pulls from like right here you could kind of see like what it looks like in the Clone Wars, and all of it pulls from the armor designs and stuff like that.
Yeah, in the
So
same way that they did the flashback on Boba Fett episode 6 or the Terminator sequence, I think the
yes.
place for it would have been when Mando first appears, shows up, and he's talking to Grogu. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they could have flashback and shown the city, you know, there
Yeah.
where he's describing things. You know, like, but
Like
because there's
see
no
right here, Rob. See the diamonds. See like the giant bonsai trees here on top of the building, and like the chest diamond is kind of there. Like it's pulling from all of that stuff. So it's well designed. It's cool. But you like you don't really get that from the episode. You don't really feel it at all too much, anyways. So see if I could get the slide back up. Look at the sub whooshing.
whooshing. Yeah, well, I know that whoosh.
So yeah, we land on Mandalore, and it's all fucked up. It's become sort of like a cross between the Wizard of Oz, between the Emerald City and Superman's Fortress of Solitude. After the what we saw in Book of Boba Fett, where they blast the hell out of it and nuke it and send K2SO droids in and kill everything in sight that they can. And
Also, not to throw shade at Kenobi, but that shot right there.
mhm.
Go back. If you look, they actually added in little like air dusts getting across the floor because you're outside and there's wind,
Yeah,
right? So they're on the volume, so they can't do it, but they comped it in. That's all I was asking.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Atmospherics to let you know, to make you feel more like you're outside. It's not a ton of stuff, but it does sell the scene. It doesn't feel just static, you know.
Yeah. And but for every compliment, there are a lot of stuff like this where you're just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like,
Morlocks.
yeah, things are like really, really hard to like see. Hey, how's it going, Max? Max Sandow is here. I know we can't hear you, Max, yet, but Max is here. maybe we will, maybe we won't. Maybe Mohawk got her back for getting fixed. Like, I'm gonna get you. But there was there's a couple of like character moments that I like in the episode, by the way, before I forget to hit on them, with Grogu specifically, where like the light goes on, like he emulates his father. But later on, when he's with Bo-Katan, and she's like, you need to show me where to
Dang.
go. Whoa. How's it going, Max? Max is speaking Chinese. Max
She
is
has always the
hutties.
most technical. She always has the worst technical problems every time.
But anyways, when you could see like Grogu like get brave, and when he gets brave later on with Bo, he turns on his light, you know, and like leads the way. There's just these like little kind of like neat little moments that like the R5 one that you mentioned, but there's a lot with
Yeah,
Grogu.
and they're nonverbal. You know, they're
Mhm.
you're seeing and being told the story. I think Mando executes best when there's minimal. I'm not saying minimal talking. It's not that
Yeah,
I get like, hey, I'm teaching my kid. I'm going to tell him. I understand that's pretty smart exposition, but you don't need to say this place was used to look cool 3 times. You could have just showed us when it looked cool, and then you
yeah,
could have seen the sadness on Bo-Katan's face when she sees what it's become, and we would have experienced both and put it together.
yeah.
This having to say it 3 times in an episode. I don't know
Right.
about you, but people don't like it here when I repeat my jokes 2 times,
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
even
yeah.
once. But like,
Yeah, you had
yeah,
fun.
right.
Um,
So
yeah, I thought about this too. I was like, you know, they could have had Bo with a dream or something. You there could have been a way of getting at it. But
right, especially when she's at the the castle,
Mhm.
right? Just sitting there.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, like it would have been like that would have been another place you could have inserted that thought, you know, that
Yeah.
flashback. Because I do go, look, I get Batman just sits in his cave, but he is like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, building gadgets and maybe, you know, doing, you know, getting dirt on Gordon just in case he, you know, he
Or,
needs.
I mean, let's be fair. He's just getting Morgan
He's listening
Freeman to
to
do it.
he's listening to Nirvana. No, he's different series now, buddy.
Oh, you're talking about. See, you're just picking and choosing your Batmans now. Um,
Yeah.
but
No, well, got me there.
yeah. So okay, let me see. And then right here, we
This
get
was
where
cool.
yeah, and I was almost curious for all of the talk of the white Mando helmet from the proto. Is that the white Mando helmet from the prototype Boba helmet?
Yeah, I thought that's what that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so dirty. It's kind of a hard read, but that's kind of what I thought it was too, or potentially, anyways. But good, but fun shot. I liked it. Now this motherfucker, this thing at times, I think when it's working really well, it reminds me of Phil Tippett. It reminds me of Mad God Phil Tippett stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Tippett designed this, or if somebody just really wanted to impress Phil Tippett, whichever. Phil Tippett is felt in these moments, and
Yeah, it's good design.
there are times when it doesn't read, and there's times when it reads really well. When it reads really well, like you almost get like a War of the Worlds, like the aliens inside the ship kind of like feeling. It's almost like if you took the War of the Worlds alien and stuck it slash Dianoga and stuck it inside General Grievous at moments and the Beetle and stuff. But I'm not really a big fan of insectoid robots necessarily, but I think
Right,
it's
but that's the
smart.
Clone Wars. If you're going to
Mhm.
invoke the Clone
Yeah,
Wars, you don't have a choice. So that was
right.
the design they went with, you
But no,
know.
but that's
So
where it's smart because the insects read. You know what it is without having to look at it too much. Is what I was gonna say.
yeah, and it's
But
filthy all the way through, you know.
mhm,
So I mean, but
yeah.
how long has this dude been? I mean, it can't be many Mandos that show up. I guess maybe it'd be one thing if there was like a Jawa robe, you know, like that Jawa trader sold it to me. Like I don't
Mhm.
know, like how many dudes is he catching down there now? Like
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? I mean,
who knows?
yeah. I mean, this is like the PC bot from the Java traders may have been more from the surface, but or not too deep in. And yeah, the craft itself, like my son thought it was one of the Clone Wars droids, and it looks almost like it's a mashup of the Clone Wars stuff with the probe droid. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's maybe what they're going for with it.
Yeah, it feels like if Joe Johnston was working on a special edition of Attack of the Clones, you would have sort
Mhm.
of got this, you know, like
Or if
pretty
you
cool.
let Phil Tippett
So
do the Attack of the Clone stuff, probably like this
right,
eye
I mean,
and
it's clearly like
Mhm.
a Dalek, right? Like it's like a little Dalek who doesn't talk, just got the big eyeball.
yeah, yeah, it's super fucking weird. And Dell Dell says this is the bottom of the living waters, and then Robert says Grogu seemed to vibe with Bo in a different way from how he interacts with Pele. Bo treats him like a person, while Pele treats him like a baby novelty. Bo spoke to him about her past with the Jedi. Yeah, yeah, she does. She holds him, I guess, to the standard of a foundling as opposed to Pele Moto, who was like, we could have sold him to a petting zoo. Remember, she says that at one point. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but he does like her. He almost says her name in the episode, Pele Moto, that is. She's like, did he say my name? But I don't think he did, but
Yeah, great job on his sound design, like the like cat purrs, you know, very
Mhm.
cattish, very pretty good. Let's see.
Yeah,
Max, can you work now? You working?
no,
No, Max, no.
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 Max is being all like, I'm not gonna say anything until it's like the cool moment to say something. I get it though. Um, but yeah, but that eye
Deep
is
robotic chittering.
deep robotic chittering. I was gonna turn off the subs, but I thought they were kind of too funny sometimes. I was
No,
like, I'm gonna
turn on the subs. Know what
give
I'm
me some,
saying? Just turn them on.
give me some
Woo,
give me some
chittering.
chitrin.
Chittering. Yeah, maybe some chittering. Some robot chittering. Okay, but I'm gonna get some by.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm a yeah. I was a fan of it. It was pulling from like a lot of stuff, like But just love the little shot of Grogu though, so I included it because he's adorable.
I
Why
I
wouldn't you?
almost wish the structure of the episode had, if we had moved away from if we had spent more with the Boonta Eve, and cut it off when he got captured and then he has to escape, and
Yeah.
then the next episode, you could have opened it this way. You could have put a flashback, and then in this one, I don't know, there's a way you could have took these events, filled out the things you were describing with the flashbacks, and then made it a two-parter.
Right.
It's just so you could have had a little bit more time. Like the campfire scene is like a great resolution, but it's like in between two big, action beats kind of thing. So it's
if it was Tony Gilroy's Mandalorian, it definitely would have went that way, I think.
right.
This right here, there's actually a couple for those of you who are going to watch it again. I'm going to give you homework. Tell me tomorrow if you watch it again tonight. Like we go back to R5D4 a few times, and I'm like, there's like a moment where like R5D4 turns on like the surveillance camera on the N1 to like watch them walk away and stuff. And I was like, well, why? Like, why is this here? Is this just to keep track of R5 because like maybe children might care about him and like he's there and he's with them? And like, was that the point? That was I'm in no way an editor, but my editor brain was like, why? It's a question I had watching it.
It would have been more interesting if the shot had just been, you could have had a first person, like his eyeball, like he zooms in, like it would have been fun to see through the eyes of a droid kind of bit.
Yeah.
Or if you just got him looking out the window and doing like the R2 coup, you know what I mean? Kind of bit or something.
Yeah, I when I was looking at it, I was like, what I probably would have had them do was maybe start some like atmospheric stuff going on, like snow or rain, just to like show that it's getting more dire. You know what I mean? It had an R5 out there, and you're like, you might have felt it more.
Sometimes I feel like Favreau is uncomfortable allowing the nature of the setting of an area to speak. It's that he did Swingers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like sometimes I feel like he feels he needs to like Robert Downey Jr. improv everything up a bit. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, like feeling the desolation and the uncertainty is, I think, plays stronger to Star Wars than explaining the danger and uncertainty.
Yeah. And it might be simply budgetary at the end of the day. Max, are you there?
Yes. No.
Yeah, you are there. I can hear you.
Sorry.
How's it going, Max?
Oops, I forgot my mic was on.
No,
she's on Mandalore right now. So.
I am.
Max, you're on a Star Wars show. You're supposed to have the mic on, or we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Loud and clear.
Over and out. 10-4.
Right, thanks.
Roger.
Runner.
Yeah. So did you stay up last night and watch it, Max, or did you watch it this morning?
No, actually, I did stay up because by the time I realized, I looked at the time, it was like 1:45. I'm like, I might as well just stay up and watch it.
Yeah, right.
It was really good.
I want to hear the sad part. I fell asleep at 11:50.
In the morning?
For it to come at night last night.
I'm just kidding.
It comes out at midnight for me. I fell asleep and I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, and then I watched it, and then I went back to bed. Then I woke up and watched it. I have a sick kid home today again, fever and everything. This kids, man, being out of school, I think for that like 2 years, they just viruses or whatever just running rampant. Everybody's sick all the time now. So anyways, so we woke up and we watched it, and I enjoyed it, but I have a confession to make. For the first time, I'm going to concede that reading spoilers diminished it a little bit for me. So
Did it?
I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I'm up, and the reason being is that my brain knew what it was going to look like down there in the mines of Mandalore.
That's what you call it,
right? I knew what it was going to look like. We had seen the sets before. We knew we had seen shots and stuff from trailers and stuff like that.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, so when it's just like a bunch of like dark shots in a cave, and we know the beat for beat what happens, I feel like as I watched the episode, I'd already seen it for the most part.
She's talking about the Chitterus, Jason. The robot Chitterus. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
I know where it
is. But we're talking out of hundreds of Star Wars episodes of things I've known spoilers for. This is the first time I've been like, yeah, diminish it a little bit. So don't worry, I haven't changed my ways.
So unsubscribe to the show.
No,
Don't follow the channel. We're ruining that Star Wars.
So right
is that
here,
the ice cream maker?
No,
Is
right
that
here
the
we have Katie Sackhoff taking a deuce.
It does look like that, I have to say.
That's how I look when I'm going right there. I got my phone out and fucking playing Tetris or something, you know, like
Tetris.
tweeting,
Game Boy Tetris,
fighting with people on Twitter or something like that, you know.
Gosh.
But I like that. Is that called a bas relief? Is that what that's called? That little thing behind her?
It's a bidet.
No, the thing on the wall. The thing on the wall.
Yeah. Bass relief.
Yeah. I hope we get like a clear picture of it. Cool.
They made a whole end title sequence out of it in Age of Ultron. It ends with the giant bas relief of all the Avengers fighting Ultron. Remember?
There's a pet peeve of mine. When you go to Galaxy's Edge, they have one of these Duros style characters fighting Jedi, and it's in the like big shop, but it's like huge. It's probably like 10 feet, maybe it's not that. It's probably about 8 feet, maybe. And every time you walk in, now there's some fucking guy who's like, "This is the thing for Palpatine's office. If you've seen Revenge of the Sith as many times as I have, you would know that." And it's not.
Did Favreau write it?
No, it's not the same one.
Oh,
and every single time I'm just like,
it's not
do I confront this dumb fuck or do I let him go about living his delusion?
No, you do it. And
what
you
do
get
you
thrown out for
what
it.
do you think? No, what do you think the Larry
Yes.
David in me does? I can't help myself.
Okay, it's for Palpatine's office, huh? Yeah,
No.
on the left, or was it the right of his office? Was it in the front or in the back of his office?
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I want to before I forget too. She calls it Pog soup. Is that PAWG? Is that fat ass white girl? Fat ass white girl soup?
No, 90s Pogs, man, like spinners,
God,
like the slammers.
I think she's coming on to him, dude. I think she's like this fat ass white girl, you know. And,
I don't think Favreau knows. I think he thinks Pogs are the game. I don't think he knows what Poggers means. Like,
yeah, so I think Favreau knows fat ass white girls because why not? But yeah, it made me laugh.
Sorry.
Apple
It's okay.
Jason, apple bottoms.
Yeah, but when you go to Pornhub, there's no apple bottom category. There's Pog, fat ass white girl category. Come on, get it with it, dude. Yeah, and right here we got Grogu. I will say I love this whole like their heads looking out the cockpit shots. But in 2 episodes, I feel like it's been done now. Like I
feel that way, man. I
Mhm.
love Favreau, but I feel there's a lot of repetition. This is where I'm like, you need to bring on some extra writers. And it's not the ideas or his execution or his talent. It's that if you're singularly writing this many episodes for this many seasons, I mean, it's 4 series. You don't see Tony Gilroy single-handedly writing, you know what I mean? Like 3/4 of 4 different series. You're going to get the same thing over and over again. It's just because you shorthand your own writing.
I'm blaming the directors because they keep directing,
but they don't show
like this could have been on from the front on. He could have landed facing the thing because he's the kid.
Except it could have been so visual effects heavy that it depends on how it was storyboard or animatic storyboard or however you want to do. When I say storyboard, they're not just drawing them, like they're doing all the visual effects ahead of time. And I feel like the directors are just there to get performances on an individual episode. I don't think they're guiding too many.
They brought the N1 cockpit up into the volume and set it up and then didn't want to move it again. And they did this shot and the other shot all probably at the same time. That's my guess.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know, but I'm saying it's funny. It's a good shot, but in 2 episodes, I've seen it now so many times that if I see it again, I'm going to groan.
Oh, you will like the.
Are you really?
I'm going to groan, and when I groan, heads roll, Max.
You got to do jokes in 3s per episode. That's got to do it. Good shot.
Yeah. I was trying to find this shot a few days ago, and I think we must have saw it at Celebration, but me and Meg were looking for it, and we're like, I don't know. Did you imagine that? And I'm like, no. But I think that was in the Celebration trailer. But I will say, I know you were really apprehensive about this part when we talked about it. I thought it moved. I didn't think it was too bad.
No, the Paleomoto bit was the worst part of it for me. Like draining. This stuff, it's just the exposition, but the because he again explained where everything was on a map. I was like, it just depends on how they explain the geography. If they don't explain it right, then you'll be like, whoa, because he's like, hey, she's right over there. So we were right over there. Then we flew a million miles all the way back to meet Rob's mom and get this shitty droid just to come all the way back. Like, I don't know. He's spending a lot of money on gas.
It was done well, because like when he's showing Grogu like where the geography is on the ship on the N1, it's doing like two things. It's helping the audience understand the geography, and it's also making it believable that Grogu could go get her, which is, you don't even need him to be able to do that because the droid can do it. But the fact that he knows it, like, so that's where I am like, okay, this was well done. This was maybe not even a first draft idea. You know what I mean?
What I'm goofing on isn't that execution is great. What I'm goofing on is what isn't being said, which is, hey, we were right there last episode, but we flew all the way back to Tatooine just to come all the way back. That's what I'm like. I didn't think about that until I saw the map. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, you almost could have done the Paleomoto sequence actually in exposition while he's talking to Grogu. They could have just mentioned, like, we got a new guy back.
They could have just showed up with a droid and she could have been calling, how's that droid work? I haven't gotten there yet. You know what I mean? I had to fly out to you to not get the part. There's a smarter, I don't know, whatever. People are going, I liked it, Rob. I'm like, I get you liked it. This shot right here, there's something. You remember the show Airwolf?
Yeah.
So there was like two versions of Airwolf. There's the one you and I remember with Jan Michael Vincent and Ernest Borgnine. And all the visual effects were like put on like a VHS tape, and they turn on a TV, you could see it was behind the CRTV. And then there's another season when Jan Michael Vincent left and it went to USA Network, and they did early like green screen compositing. Where they tried to do like a digital ad. And it never sits well. Like, it doesn't look like it's in this. This is it. This is the digital, like, that screen. That footage doesn't look like that's happening on that screen to me. It's so, I don't know. Like, I don't.
My thing was, once again, I was like, we got this shot, but we didn't get a better shot of Grogu landing or whatever. And I was like, what was the point of this one right here? And maybe it's just to tell us that R5's not going. Maybe that's what they intended. But I was kind of like, why do we need it? Hey, the Old Republic is a channel member. Thank you for becoming a channel member, Old Republic.
Yay.
A whole lot of people there. A whole Old Republic.
Like, I still exist. My game is still, we still got updates. I'm still smart.
Yeah. And then this is that little character moment I like I said, where he turns on his light, which is like him being like, I'm gonna, I don't know if man up is the word, but essentially I'm gonna be a hero. I'm gonna buck up and lead the way.
Mando tells the robot to not be a baby. Like, he almost wanted to use the P word, right? Like, you wanted to.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's like, quit being a P word.
Yeah, quit being a pussy, Grogu.
No. It's Disney. It's Disney.
Disney pussy.
You can't say that, Jason.
God.
Family show.
Well, don't worry. The grifters are going to start going like, she's saving him twice because she's the boss and he's a big pussy. It's like, never mind that she's a fucking Mandalorian princess who's like actually trained. You know what I mean? Bo-Katan, that is, and stuff like that. But that's going to be the grift.
If I had anything to say about that in this fight, is that he seemed to cut off more limbs in the Boba Fett episode in the freezer with the Darksaber, and here it's like, it's almost like he never turned it on before,
right?
And it was so heavy. I don't know if it stays incrementally heavy for him, or if it's just over. I don't know. I was like, when he turns it on and then he's like, it just scrapes a dude. I'm like, they better start hacking dudes up. What's the point of having a lightsaber if he ain't cutting off limbs? Like, but he did stab him, so. Babbling. It's hilarious.
But yeah. And then right here, when we see it kind of like in its more cybernetic form, like the mech stuff, and I started to wonder, hear me out here, is there a chance something from this motherfucker is going to lead to the IG-11 mech? Like, will something from this contribute to that?
That's what I thought, because I'm like, you go all that trouble to try to find an IG thing, and you get to this guy, and I'm like, he's essentially just IG parts walking around. You got a whole. It's hilarious. But
yeah. So if they don't pull from it, oops, oops.
I know. I gotta be fair. I gotta let them tell their story and anticipate too much.
Yeah, and when we get to the back end of it, though, that's when we could start to go like, hey, you could have done this.
This is really fucking interesting. It's
cool, right?
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
This is the stuff where I'm like I said, like either this is a Phil Tippett contribution, or they're trying to impress Phil Tippett, and in the process impressing me and Max.
Or you're on mushrooms.
Phil Tippett's like, now you have my attention.
Yeah, now you're getting mad God weird. I'm into it. But
want to see what's in my ear? Like, no, Phil, we don't.
I mean, to be fair, if it was Mad God, this thing would have taken a deuce. Grogu would have eaten it and then turned into a crab and then shit out a baby, and then the baby would have become like the new heir to Mandalore. Like that's what would have happened if you let Phil Tippett have his way. And I'm about it. I appreciate it, But yeah. Quentin says, make me a member or else. You just got to go onto the main page. It's usually easier in the browser. And thank you for the super chat, Quentin. Just go into the page, and there's a little member button. Hit that on the main page. Usually on a computer, it's easier, but it can be done elsewhere. But if you have any problems, just send me an email, MakingStarWars@gmail.com or whatever, and I'll guide you through it. And I appreciate it. I appreciate anybody who wants to contribute to the show. So anyways, yeah, so we got our creepy eye. And I like this though. I like that we start off with the two polar extremes of the eccentricities in Star Wars, where you start off with Paleomoto and Tatooine and here's pit droids and BD and glonk glonk kind of bullshit and Jawas. But then we get to the other fucking polar end by this episode, where we're like looking at whatever the fuck this thing is. I mean, this thing is better than the Dianoga to me, if you ask me. A little bit of a Dianoga inspired episode, but no Dianoga in it, and I appreciate that.
I need to give him some false eyelashes.
A little bit of eyeliner, maybe a little bit of guy liner.
It's the Peter Chung Aeon Flux eye, right? Like,
get that guy from Lost with the guy liner on, to play it.
He kind of looks like Anakin.
It does have a little bit of that. I'm what remains. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Kenobi?
No, I don't know. Is that what he says?
Yeah. Electricity cackling. So, and then right here we got Bo, and like you can't kind of see some. Oh, hey,
I thought
Dave.
It said cuckling. I don't know. I didn't read that right. Did it say cuckling? We doing that?
No, it says crackling.
Oh, bummer.
It says crackling.
Oh, Cracker Jacks. Okay, man.
I mean, I think cuckling was the idea you had for when somebody in Star Wars gets cucked and a baby is spawned from that. It's called the cuckling. And yeah, I remember Leland Chi having to write that down for you. That was a thing, I think. So that's Dave Filoni for you. Filoni is
See, this is the thing where I'm like, all this stuff was cool, but the pacing with the episode, I'm like, that I don't know. It was it's a lot of big moments, and then I don't know. It's weird. It's oddly paced for me, but whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Then we're back to walking.
Back to walking, but it's a good shot though.
Yeah,
if you're gonna walk, if you're gonna do a lot of walking, like this is the kind of stuff that in Star Wars Bad Batch, there's a lot of walking in these caves and previous episodes, and it's just like at Omega's shoulder or whatever. It's boring. And but this is the kind of thing where if you need to show that kind of exposition, ooh, this is good. This looks cool.
Yeah, and I like when he says this is the way, like the pacing on that was pretty good,
Yeah. But I pulled this shit out because I'm like, a lot of moments in this are maybe too dark. And and then we got the plaque. And Mandalore the Great is said to have tamed the mythical beast. And that's something I wanted to like touch on based off of having seen the episode now and those quotes that I read at the top of the show, where they talk about taming it and riding it and stuff like that. So I'm of the opinion now that they're not going to fight it. I think what's going to happen at the end is Gideon and his boys are going to show up once everybody's back on Mandalore, and they're going to try to remove them from Mandalore in a one kind of maybe sort of final fight, if you will. And I think what's going to happen is at the end, she's going to come with the mythosaur, and it's going to turn the tide. I think she's going to ride it into battle. And then afterwards, they will make the mythosaur armor for her, maybe not out of the mythosaur, but maybe just like ornately designed after the mythosaur or something like that. It was an assumption that they go against the mythosaur, and then she has the armor, therefore it's crafted from it. Maybe it's not crafted from it. Maybe it's something only like Mandalore could wear, like the actual like leader Mandalore. So throw that out there.
Oh man,
it makes sense. I think
now it's not what I'm. I had a bad vision.
Oh, okay.
The Milfosaur.
The Milfosaur.
Oh,
no. It's a bad joke. I shouldn't do that.
Hey, we already got Pog soup, man. We got fat ass white girl soup. So what do you want? But we got right here. We can see like the little horn, little eye, little horn, little eye, little horn, little eye, little horn.
Back into the left. Back into the left.
Look at it. It's looking at you. It's looking at you.
I smell Apple Jacks. Who got Apple Jacks?
And you can see it's the fucking mythosaur. I don't know what that screenshot is. But and then we end with Bo-Katan panting, like she's come to the realization that it's real. But it's in terms of like the lore of the show, we've had a lot of expositional talk from Bo-Katan mentioning like the people fought themselves, and like that led to the downfall because of your cult. Then we have the armorer saying the House Kreese lost its way, and this is the way kind of shit. It wasn't like working out. Then we have some callbacks to her father having died from Mandalore, and it's a good moment when he's like, "This is the way," and then Grogu's like, "Yeah," and she's like, "What are you looking at?" It's pretty good. I like that moment. I thought that was really, really well done.
It's like, bitch.
But I think what they're setting up is that if there is going to be sort of a compromise, a meeting in the middle, and I think she becomes Mandalore, I think what we end up having is a little bit of everyone sort of deciding on a new way. And, maybe they don't have to wear the mask. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But there will be some kind of like, we know that essentially happens. We know that like Christopher Lloyd's character is brought in at some point and stuff. So we know that there's going to be something to that effect, or at least the crusty old white dude, as I heard he was called, and the crusty old dark skinned dude. They come together. They sort of all join up forces at some point. And so I have to imagine that there's some sort of just like, agreement. But the weird thing is about this episode, and the part that maybe it hasn't played out yet, but is at the end, it does appear that Mando has the Darksaber. And it's like in the other episode, like he fucking beats Gideon's ass and throws him in prison. It's like, well, sword's mine now. And they're like, well, it's yours. You won in combat. But then this guy comes, this robot creature, beats the shit out of Din, drinks his fucking blood. She shows up, kicks its ass, and then the sword's not hers? Like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's
I told you, man, there's two Favreaus to me. There's a Favreau that made Iron Man 1, and there's a Favreau that made Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
And I'm so inconsistent. Like there's Cowboys and Aliens Favreau, and then there's Jungle Book Favreau. I don't understand.
But there's a chance that when we get to the armorer, they're like, hey, I took him down there. What happened? How'd you get down there? There was this weird thing, and I killed it for her. And then and she's like, oh, so the Darksaber's yours. That might happen. Like she may be like the judge and jury who hears their claim, so to speak. And then Ashley's like, oh, and the Darksaber is clearly yours. and that, and he asks, he's like, here,
Or
he hands it
they
over.
could do none of that, Jason.
Or they might not do any, but they might, and that's what I'm leaving open. So I'm not calling it stupid yet, but it could be stupid if they don't, if it's just like, oh, but I kind of think Bespin and I were talking this morning, and we were like, I think we were both on the same page with this. We kind of formulated this together. We think that maybe they're not going to do that, because what's going to happen is in the final fight against Homeboy, Gideon will get the Darksaber back. And if she shows up on the Mythosaur and like fucking like wins that fight at the end and picks it back up, maybe they're going to let her get it from Gideon to make the rematch, to rectify the loss, that because she lost it to him before. So that might be what they figure is like the better story. I don't know. It's possible, but where this could go is pretty open.
Yeah.
So new channel member, Old Republic, once again, thank you for becoming channel member, says, are they going to Coruscant soon? The fight on the frozen lake takes place at the end of the show, I guess. So that will take up a lot of screen time. What does your crystal ball say, Mr. Ward? Yeah, right now, my take is the Coruscant episode might be like sort of our Book of Boba Fett episode. You know how Book of Boba Fett, all of a sudden there's like this Din episode? I wouldn't be surprised if we leave the Mandalorian behind overall, and we end up with sort of Pershing sneaking around, going to Coruscant to get him out. There's two schools of thought about how that goes. There's a rumor that I don't know what's true on this, but there's a rumor that like they literally used the law that Luke Skywalker did not have the right to arrest Gideon when he did, and how he did it, and that he gets out on a technicality.
He's an Imperial officer. They all should be outlawed. There's no.
This is
really stupid.
Well, but this is the point. Remember, we have to have the stupidity, Rob, or we don't get the First Order. And so this is the start of people like wanting to like
the First Order should have just happened when everyone figured out the Bloodlines moment, when they figure out that Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia are related to Darth Vader, and then there's a seed of not trusting who replaced the Empire, not this other thing. Like, because that is the thing. If you found out that, hey, we beat fucking Hitler in World War II, but
I don't follow
it turns out Truman was related to Hitler, you fucking would have had a giant problem.
Yeah, but I don't follow you. Like, we're spooked by Leia being Darth Vader's daughter, so we start the First Order. Like, it allows the cracks to appear in that New Republic where they're fighting amongst themselves. And then maybe we don't need this. Maybe we need an actual First Order. Like, we need to go back to originalism, the way we see, conservatives now going, we got to go to the original Constitution, blah, 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 blah. We need 3/5 people, blah, 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 blah. But this whole like, well, no, see, you got a legal technicality, like that shit to me, man, it sounds like prequel taxation territory stuff, sorry. Like, I hope not, no, it's literally exactly what it is. Mon Mothma ends up putting out a doctrine that says we're not going to make a centralized military. We're going to keep it off. We're going to keep it away from that. And the reason being is that we don't want an Order 66 kind of situation to be able to arise again. So everyone's
not good with political stuff, dude.
Everyone
he's
is going to make
with Boba Fett. You know what I mean?
But this isn't a Favreau.
If Gilroy was writing this stuff, then fine. But I don't know.
But once again, this wasn't written for this. This wasn't created for this. This was created in a book about by the story group for like the general, like what's going on at this time in the galaxy. And really quickly, see right up here, Quentin, you can see the join button next to the two blue buttons at the top here on the Making Star Wars like main page.
Yeah, the one that's grayed out. Great job, YouTube.
Yeah, make it hard to find. Make it hard to find, YouTube.
Smart.
But right there. You can see it right there.
We need that filter, that screen filter that R5 has, right? It's right there.
But Yeah, no, but I mean, so like what you have, that's why you end up having like all of these like people that have just deciding that they're going to defend themselves. And what we saw at the beginning of the first episode is Navarro's like, we don't trust a faraway governmental body to govern us here. Fuck that. We're going to be independent. That's like the vibe across the whole galaxy. And that's where they sort of are splintered. And that's what allows the First Order to exist out there, and for all of this pirates and stuff like that to come about that we'll see in Skeleton Crew and shit. And so that's what allows for like that environment. Now, is that what happens in the episode? Is that why do they bust Gideon out lawfully or not? I don't know. I could see two arguments for it in terms of the plot. Getting him out lawfully allows him to exist and be a threat that it's like, oh shit, we have to deal with this and no one's going to help us. The other side of it is, if the Republic is on it, then what do you need Mando and that group to deal with it? Shouldn't the New Republic be handling it, you know? So, but Mon Mothma fucks up in what she does, leads to an environment where the First Order is able to rise within 30 years and to eradicate the whole thing. And, you know, but we have to have that. We can't have smart government in Star Wars. We have to continually have flawed, or it becomes Peace Wars, not Star Wars.
Right, but we just don't need corny writing. You can still show the flawed government. I just don't trust Favreau to write that stuff, man. I don't trust him to write the Boba Fett Godfather stuff. And this is the thing that I'm the most. I don't know. Like, look, if I'm wrong, I will go and say that played great. You know, I will not come in. I don't have an agenda with this. You know,
no. Is it clear though how this worked? Like, this is a larger Star Wars story beat and not a Favreau idea or a Favreau thing. This is like,
no. If he wrote it, he gets the credit for writing.
No, he didn't write it. He didn't write.
He wrote this episode, but when it's in the episode,
this is an execution. This is from aftermath, from what's Mon Mothma and the Republic up to. This is like the story group setting the tone about what all Star Wars properties have to adhere to what's happening at this moment in time in Star Wars. So Favreau has to, as well as somebody writing a comic book or somebody making a video game, 6 to 9 years after Return of the Jedi, that's where we're at. So it just
I say if you come with a better idea, you adjust. You don't hold to what Greg Witta decided to write down one day.
It wasn't Greg Witta.
Craig Windelin, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
you know, they all got similar names.
I think it's Doug Wildebeest.
Yeah.
Gwendolyn.
Yeah.
Gwendolyn Wildebeest Christie, Agatha.
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, but that's the whole thing. Like I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea if you have a system, you make your own military and you defend yourself, and then it's sort of like a United States kind of thing. It's like a bunch of states, and each military, each sector would come up and help each other. But then what we end up getting is money comes into it. The Trade Federation, Snoke uses money to corrupt Republic senators once again into not making the right calls and allowing like those forces to rise. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad story, but it could be implemented bad. I can see it being implemented poorly, but I could also see it like, oh, that's believable. But Mon Mothma fucks up. That my big thing about it is I love Mon Mothma from Andor. Like Andor set up Mon Mothma where I'm like, fucking, she's great. Like I love this character. And then we have this fucking huge mistake at the end of her life that apparently kills her probably. But I believe she will be showing up in this series. I think she's in a few of these shows. And so you know, that might be Carson who's talking to her in the trailer even. Don't know for certain now. But yeah, so who knows how that's gonna play out. But you know, there's two ways of doing it. Because we do see them on Coruscant where that Star Destroyer like in lockup, and like it looks like it's, to me, I assumed it was like set to be dismantled and they were going to steal it before it's dismantled. But it's a hard read. But all we know is that Moff Gideon will end up going after them on the frozen lake that Bespin Bulletin reported, and the fight that I talked about. And all of this stuff is making sense. And I know he comes with a Mando helmet, his own Mando helmet when he shows up. So I'm guessing when he gets out of prison, he's pretty fucking mad. And that's where the big fight will happen. And I'm also going to predict that the Mythosaur busts through that ice, that she goes down into the mines of Mandalore, gets on it, and it fucking goes up and it's going to crush out of that ice like in a fucking badass shot. That's my prediction at this point. And if a source is watching this and wants to tell me I'm wrong or right, please do. I'd appreciate that. It would be great to
like
not
the
get
Freddy
attached.
Krueger worm and bust out of the floor.
Remember when it was like eating that girl and she's like, ah,
yeah.
I love that puppet. I love that shit. That's why Dream Warriors is my favorite one, probably.
Yeah, it is mine too.
Yeah, it's good. In my dreams, I'm bad, and then she has like heroin fingers. But
she was my favorite too.
She's good. Yeah, she's good. She's a foxy lady. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Do we want to give the episode a number? Or do we give episode numbers on the show? I don't even know. I honestly I know this is probably not in step with everyone else, but I like the first episode more. I found the first episode to be a bit more delightful. But so I'd probably give it a 7.5.
I like a lot of it, dude. It's just the Paley Moto stuff. I'm not being mean on her. I just the execution of all this is grating to me. So I could just I wish I could just
you don't like her hair.
No, I just don't like her. I don't like the repeating jokes 3 times. So if you didn't get it the first 2 or even 4 times and having to say something if they're uncomfortable, she's in her own home. She's not uncomfortable. She's just, I don't know. It's not my, when the pit droids are way more serious than your human actor, you got problems, So there are A's to me in this episode and there are D- to me in this episode, but there's far more great. I mean, the visual effects and the Mandalore, all that stuff was dope. So, I would say, yeah, 7.5 is right. And there are points where it gets up to an 8.5. I thought the execution of that villain, that design of it, the look of it, that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for out of action figure Star Wars more than Gordian Shard, that stuff was dope. Even those Morlocks were pretty creepy and cool, If they had been speaking English, oh, someone in our camp, I would have been motherfuckers, you had to do it. You had to, and the R5 joke alone, the shaking and then the backing up and stuff was fantastic. I thought that stuff was great. So yeah, I guess 7.5 when you average it, I guess, whatever.
When they had the pod racing, did it look kind of too fake ish?
Again, that's because it's scaled way out. If you were in that little speeder with them, right, in a way that wasn't like Robert Rodriguez shooting it and Boba Fett. If you actually, you have to remember during the pod race when you scale out and you see little pods moving around. They look weird when it's first person pod racing through the Bunta Eve desert. That shit's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just how it's shot and the point of the experience. They're no, it's just an exterior shot and they're doing this stuff. So it looks like little RC Pro-Am cars, because of it.
I love that game.
Which I found out when I was a kid, the game plays easier if you stand up and you would hold an RC car controller. Standing up, it plays way different than sitting down. It is weird.
That was on the cover of Nintendo Power magazine when my issues were still free, when they were just sending them to me. It was a good time. How about you, Max? Do you give numbers? Can the show get your number?
8.9.27.
Jeez, that's specific.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And it's because of Paley Moto's hair, right?
Yeah, and the missing tooth.
Mm-hmm.
She whistles now when she talks.
Oh, by the way, honorable mention to this Rodian's fancy ass shirt. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was pretty fancy. I don't have a good screenshot of it, but he has a paisley shirt on.
That's where if he was the guy that owned the little racer that had crashed, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's a whole. I think there's just no real B story There's just an A story, and other characters are showing up for it. You know, there isn't
this moment is just supposed to be fun. Yeah, I think it's.
I know, but it wasn't. It's not fun. It's not. I'm going on them. No,
you didn't have fun, that's for sure. I believe you.
No.
I mean, it's easy to get past.
Who had fun? Everyone on set. They were making each other laugh. You could tell. You know, when we all make each other laugh, and then no one else is laughing. I do it all the time. Like,
is anybody in the chat still here? Is anybody in the chat still here? Was it fun or was it not fun? You know,
they left.
So I don't know. Thoughts on firing of Gina Carano?
What is this? What is this tyrant? Like, who keeps bringing this up? Who cares?
No, your freedom of speech isn't under threat.
Yeah, it is. It's under threat. Yeah, it's under threat.
No.
Yes, it is.
When you go to work and you can't just say whatever you want. You can't just start talking about politics at work. Even like not necessarily, depending on where you work, and context matters for that stuff. So I think she felt how she felt. She felt that she needed to say what she needed to say, and it was more important than working with Disney. And they talked to her, and she felt what she had to say was more important, and so they parted ways. Fair enough, I say.
Thoughts about firing Patty Jenkins? Are your jobs under threat?
I say fire Patty Jenkins for those stupid fucking skates. Stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I like the skates. That's actually the one thing I was like, that really works. Like I would, it's a lot of balls to roller skate on a runway. It's wet too, you know?
Yeah.
I'm horrible at skates. Can't stop them. Just run into walls.
Yeah, it is. It is. We are into a place too with Cara Dune where she wouldn't have fit into any of this. And
she has a job. No one's watching her shitty movies. Like if you fucking love her so much, she has a job at the Daily Beast. You can go watch her films and support them. Sure. Like she's not fired. She got other work. Just no one cares.
Well, I would also say, like, is freedom of speech in jeopardy when everybody heard what she had to say? She was heard.
Yeah.
Very heard. And then just turns out that a lot
she's
of
still on Twitter.
Want to hear it. Still on Twitter.
Like where she's
still going strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
her
that's
boy Elon's in charge now, so she should be queen of Twitter at this fucking point. Like,
whoa, I don't know about that.
What?
I don't know about queen of Twitter. I mean, that's
yeah.
I was thinking maybe I would be queen of Twitter first.
Hey, remember when she was killed in Deadpool? That was a woke agenda too, right? Yeah.
I didn't see that movie.
Yeah. Toothpicks.
But anyways, Mandalore got a plaque. That's cool.
How's the Disney Civil War going, Jason? Any updates on that?
It's going crazy.
Still waiting for that. You know, every 6 months we got to wheel out the same useless arguments. They got nothing else. So I just want to know: is the Civil War still going on? Patty's out.
Yeah.
Filoni's in. Right. Ryan's out. Ryan's out. We got to fire Ryan, but we can't fire. Right. We got freedom of speech. But if you write a Star Wars movie you don't like, they should be removed from ever working again. Right. Yeah,
can you imagine how hilarious it would be if that was true? Like if all of that Pasha stuff was true, like how fucking crazy they'd be. Like, I'm fired again. Do I have to clean out my desk? Or can I just come back tomorrow?
I would be so angry we weren't getting a documentary about it. Like we should. There's if we had a little FU money, Jason, there's a series to be made where we shoot it like documentary style, where the Civil War rumors were all true. You know, like we all just filmed that at Disney and Lucas.
Well, like Poker Face did an episode of what if Kathleen Kennedy was what they say, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna watch it. We're in between two shows. My wife can't handle 3 different shows.
What shows you watching?
We're watching anime. We're watching some Trigun, and we're watching Mando right now. So we only got time for 2 things. You know.
Yeah. So. Watching Chainsaw Man. It's pretty good. Pretty good anime. It's
not my thing.
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny. It's not my favorite or anything, but I like it. I'm laughing. Yeah. How about you, Max? You watching any shows, or you just living your best cat life?
Living my best cat life.
That's fair.
No, I'm watching Mando and The Bad Bitch.
Mm-hmm. The Bad Bitch.
Yeah. And lots of music.
Lots of music, yeah. Mm-hmm. How was Bad Batch for you this week? It was good. It was good. It was good.
It was good.
How was Bad Batch for you this week? Mm-hmm. Lots of music. Mm-hmm. How was Bad Batch for you this week?
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't see yesterday's or today's yet.
Big fan. You got called out. I put you on the hot seat.
Shut up,
We're
bitch.
firing Max now. We're firing Max for not watching the Bad Batch. You got your band to stand a show. You come back in a week.
Hey, it's not Wednesday's not over yet. The party's just started.
She says it when she's yawning, Jason. It's like when you and James were up at 2 a.m. to review an episode. Hey, it's fine, it's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, the last part was how is Meg's doll doing? I hope it's doing well. I mean, she's not here today, so I assume she's just going to town on it, to be honest with you. I watched Bad Batch, and without going, I don't want to, we're going to end the show now, but Bad Batch was highly effective, very good, but it's what the show should normally be. So I don't really feel like patting it on the back for being like what it should generally be. You know
So
what I mean?
last episode I thought should have been introduced like several shows ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's like where it seems like everything's gonna start.
Mm-hmm.
Getting
Yeah,
good.
and like the last
30 more episodes. Gotta take your time, like The Hobbit. Just 4 movies, Jason. 4 movies, 3 seasons, and a funeral.
Omega washing dishes soon. Yeah, but the good news for people who are watching the Bad Batch or who are just waiting to hear which ones they should watch, this newest one was one you should watch, and then the next lead up until the end. All of these ones are relevant. I'd say it's a very awkward season, but these last 5 episodes are probably worth your time. Whereas most of the stuff before it, I don't think you actually need to watch it usually. So that's where I'm at with it.
I lied, Jason. We are watching a 3rd show, but I don't think you guys would consider it a show. It's a streamer called Mage Master 22, and he's playing through The Legend of Zelda for the first time. Watching a 30-something British-year-old man like whose first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time discover that there were Zelda mechanics before Ocarina of Time is the best. Like I love it. Like
Yeah.
He's really good. Like super fun.
All right. I don't consider it a show, but I would consider watching YouTube.
He's very entertaining. I would say it's the closest. It's like playing with a friend. You know, like he's very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I have a Steam Deck, and we set it up for emulation to the TV, and like so we me and the kids we play games that they never played before, and it's kind of fun watching them try to figure shit out that I take for granted today. So it's probably kind of a similar experience in that way. Like when we were playing Zelda and stuff. But all right. Well, Max, you had a video out on your birthday, and everyone should check out Max's video.
It's audio only.
Or that, yeah, it's on YouTube is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
And the remix is super good. I prefer the remix, which is a rare thing. I like that remix a lot. That's
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
like St. Vincent's Metallica, Jason, you prefer the remix, right?
I prefer the remix. Or St. Vincent actually has a couple of remixes that are actually better
than the original.
Yeah, but it's like she did it. You know what I mean? Like she was involved in it, and so it's almost like a different rendition. So, but yeah. Anyways, we'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
We'll give you an update on the Gina Carano situation, minute by minute for the next 8 years, right?
Please do.
Yeah.
This
fucking
breaking
show
news.
had to update everybody.
Gina Carano is my internet girlfriend, and I'm here to defend her honor until my death.
Even Grief Karga had to inform everyone what's up. It's like, fine. Who cares?
Yeah. Dale says, before we go, you mean 1, 2, 4, and 5 were mission of the week. Everything else is pretty relevant. There we go. That's the most succinct way of putting it. So
it's like the first 4 police academies were good, and everything after that, it's pointless. Right?
I like in 5 when they get in those balloons though. The poster was pretty good.
That's
too.
4.
That was 4. 4 was
Sharon Stone and the balloon.
It's 5 Florida.
5 is when they go to 5. Yeah, it's when they go to Miami Beach.
Miami, yeah, mission, yeah. All right.
I know this, and I wish I didn't.
No.
I'm dumber for having remembered this. It's not helping.
Hey, man, there was a time when Steve Guttenberg ruled Hollywood, and he was our overlord. We don't talk about it a lot, but it's true.
Say
What?
Did you say Putenberg or Gutenberg?
Gutenberg.
Gutenberg.
Putenberg is the Steve Gutenberg in a Putin mask, and he's starting wars in Russia.
They really
okay.
should cast him to be in the Rangers of the High Republic. Let's just put Mahoney in there. Let's do it.
Where the fuck is Gutenberg these days? Like, what's he up to, man? Anybody?
No, we went Don't Move Dirtbag Girl. What's her name?
Well, you're talking about
Don't move, dirtbag.
Yeah.
Hooks died, unfortunately.
Oh,
did
dead?
she?
Passed away. Yeah, she passed away like a couple years ago. Yeah.
About Tackleberry. Tackleberry alive?
Tackleberry is alive. Hightower's passed.
Hightower's dead?
Really?
Jeez. Well, this is a bummer. Thanks for bringing the whole place down. Whoever brought it, Police Academy now.
Yeah, but Michael Winslow and Steve Gutenberg are still around. That's really all you need. You just need those two cats.
Yeah.
Because that's the first movie was their friendship when they meet at the jail and they go into police. It was more like Stripes in that way. If you go watch the first one, you know, and then it becomes like Meatballs or Cannonball Run with cops kind of like deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and put Bobcat in it though. I like Bobcat. I like his character, like the punk insurance cop. Yeah, Bobcat's great. Bobcat's the best. Love Bobcat.
Bobcat and Sweet Chuck is when it. Yeah. I do admit, Sweet Chuck is the coolest name for a cop I've ever heard. Like,
when you just started that, I thought you were doing a Bobcat impression for a second.
I thought you were too.
No, I was like,
no, I'm special like him too. You know,
yeah, I can't do it. Yeah. I
feel pretty good, Kay. I like Mando.
Pelimoto.
Right? Like that's
all right, everyone. We'll see everyone tomorrow. We'll be back. Thank you for becoming a channel member, supporting the channel, and the podcast audio will be up. This is a podcast if you want, whatever. If you're mad about Gina Carano or something like that, cool. Have fun. Someday she will touch your penis. I promise. If you keep it up, she will touch your penis. Keep the dream alive. You can manifest it. You can manifest it. You can do it. You can do it. I promise.